Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be on the Wacky Rig, something I have a lot of confidence in. First we'll go over a couple baits that I like to use on the Wacky Rig, and then we'll go over the hooks and then a couple of the tools, or I have only one, but I'll go over a couple of the tools that you can use. First is just your typical stick bait, or your Senko, whatever you want to call it. These were the first ones used, and this is what is normally used. It's your most common. If you don't already know what a Wacky Rig is, it's where you hook the bait in the center. That way it kind of has that butterfly kicking motion. But yeah, the stick bait is super common. It's a great bait to use. Next, this is from Riot. This is the baton. This is specifically made for wacky rigging. It's a three-piece body, or three-segment body. So you can see where it's skinny on the sides. It really lets it kick a lot more than a regular stick bait. And this is the bait that itself this is what changed wacky rigging for me. This is the bait. This bait alone put confidence in the Wacky Rig for me. So if you want to check these out, you can. I'll leave a link in the description along with my discount code. They'll all be down there in the description below. This is a little title blue color. Big fan of the baton though. This is a not so common one you see, is your regular trick worm style or straight tail worm. This is the probe from Riot. This is a great bait for shaky heads, drop shots, stuff like that. If you're a finesse worm or a straight tail worm type of guy, try the probe out. They're really good. A lot of guys, I see people wacky rig these sometimes. Not so common, but it is something you can see. Usually if I'm going to do anything like it, like a wacky rig, I'll Nico rig it, which is a totally different thing, but they're hooked similar. And then lastly, I wasn't sure if I was going to add this one in here or not, because I haven't fished it yet, but I don't know why I couldn't. And that is a Magnum stick bait. If you've seen my video on 3 baits that I'm super excited to fish this upcoming year, this was in there. It is absolutely giant. It's huge. I think this is a Bass Pro Shops Sticko. It's like a 7 1/8. I think is what it was. It looks about right, but it's huge. Super excited to throw this on the Wacky Rig. So again, those are the main baits. If you're serious about wacky rigging, this is something you already do, and you're just clicking on this video to kind of see another person's opinion, definitely try this. Or if you're brand new into wacky rigging, also try this, because this is the ultimate wacky rig worm out there. This is it. If you're wacky rigging, this is what you want. So hook wise, there's only a few hooks. I've only got one with me, and that's just your standard finesse hook. This can be used for drop shots, wacky rigs, Nico rigs, whatever you want to do. Flukes, if you want to nose hook a fluke, whatever, doesn't matter. This is a extra wide gap finesse from Gamakatsu. It's a good hook. I do like it. I kind of prefer the octopus hook from Gamakatsu. I prefer a size 1. You can upsize. You can go up to a size 2. I'm gonna have to get some for this Magnum stick bait, I believe, because as you can see, there's not much room left for the hook. So definitely gonna have to get a size 2 for that. But size 1 will do all of these other baits perfectly fine. Like I said, I feel like I had a better hookup percentage and a better landing ratio with the octopus hook. Not that this is a bad hook. I mean, if you're not a huge finesse guy, I'm not either. But if you're just not a big finesse guy, or it's something you're just getting into, I recommend just getting your standard finesse hook from anyone. Because I'm not sponsored by Gamakatsu or anything. Just your standard finesse hook from whoever makes it. And this will serve you well for pretty much anything you need to do finesse wise that requires its own hook. That's what I would do, because it's a little bit just more versatile. But if you do want to get a hook specifically for it, I kind of recommend an octopus hook or any other type of hook that's similar. It's basically a circle hook, but I do like this. Next is a weedless version. It's going to be the same exact thing as this, except it's going to have two little like nylon brushes that come out. They're normally just two. Maybe there's some others that have got like a full brush guard on them, but they're not heavy. But they'll just kind of stick out there over like that. Just kind of keep you from getting hung up so much. But they're really lightweight, so it's not like you can just throw it in super heavy grass or something. I mean, they'll help you, but you know, don't expect it to do the same thing as like a brush guard on a flipping jig. Lastly is a weighted wacky rig, and imagine it being this hook but with a jig head on it. That's basically all it is. And most of them will have, well, you can get them with either a weed guard or not, but it's the same thing. Just imagine a little bowl head on it. That's all it is. Usually they're really light. They're like an 1/8, 16th, something like that. I don't know if I've even seen anything heavier than 3/16 really. I've never used anything heavier, but I usually just throw them weightless. That's kind of my favorite way to do it. If they're hitting it on the fall, that, by the way. Now, whenever I get home, I'm on the boat, on the lake, I will have videos out for everything on how to actually fish it. I don't want to do them in here where, you know, you can see my rods in the back, and I've got my baits here, but it's not like I can really show you what I'm doing. So I'd rather do that. So if you're interested in that, you know, consider subscribing to the channel, because there's going to be a lot of that stuff coming up, along with tournament footage and things like that. So, but till then, we're in the dorm room, we're making do. So, lastly, out of the hooks, before we get into actually rigging them, I want to go over the Wacky Rig tool. Like I said earlier, and I showed you even with this one, you hook it through the center of the bait. That's the way you always done it before. Now, most people use an O-ring, and the reason for using an O-ring is because if you've ever fished with a stick bait before, you know they don't last real long. That's just kind of the nature of them. The baton I don't really have a problem with, as far as like they last more than just one fish. But you know, with a typical Senko or stick bait, not this one. This is actually a Riot. They've done a really good job of making it very tough. But if you've ever used the actual Gary Yamamoto Senko, the original, you know they're loaded with salt and they are very fragile. So the Wacky Rig makes up for, or the O-ring makes up for that. So let me show you how I like to, how I actually fish them. And this is just the Wacky tool. So you can see it's got O-rings down here. You just take your bait and you put it inside of it, kind of find the center, and then you just slide the O-ring over until it just falls over, and then there you go. Now you can kind of roll your O-ring to the center, put your hook in it like so, just right underneath. You can avoid getting plastic, but it doesn't really matter. A lot of guys prefer to actually get some plastic. Now this will make your baits last so much longer, a lot less downtime, more time having this thing in the water. So that's always a plus. The only con to doing it this way with one O-ring is whenever they eat it, a lot of times, since that hook is horizontal, it will just slide out. If you're going to get anything, you're going to get it in the corner of the mouth, which doesn't really happen that often. They have to actually eat the bait the wrong way to actually get the hook up. So, of course, you're still going to catch fish this way, but I like to have as many odds as I can in my favor. So what I do is I double O-ring. So I'll put this back in there. I'll leave the O-ring that's on it now. I'll go ahead and run my other O-ring up onto my bait. Now, you don't want them crossed. You want them just side by side. This is the tricky part. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to get this on camera. This is actually my second attempt because I accidentally shut the camera off because I was trying to readjust. So, first thing you'll do is run it through the first O-ring, just like you did the first time. If you were just running one O-ring, see, just like one regular O-ring. Then what you want to do is, move the camera a little closer. Then what you want to do is you want to get on this side, the O-ring that you're not through, get on this side, and then you just want to run the tip back underneath it and then in between them. So hopefully I can get it on camera and it makes sense. And it's not that you can see it any good anyways. So I'm going to take my hook point. Well, you can't see on the camera. This camera quality is not good enough anyways. But just right there. So I know you probably didn't see that, but now you can see what I've done. I crossed them. Now, this is how I like to fish them because it makes the hook, it's not parallel with the bait anymore, or in line. It's now perpendicular, and it just goes across. So now your hookup ratio is better. They eat it. That hook is up, going in the roof of their mouth. Now, I don't really know how else to better explain how to get your O-ring to cross. You're not actually crossing the O-ring as much as the hook. Like I said, you just go in like normal, and then you just want to take that hook point and just run it underneath this one, the one you're not through. Okay, run it underneath it from this side, go in, and then out through the center. If that makes any sense at all. Just like that. So hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea of how I've done it. If you're still struggling with it, I think Debo Fishing has he has a Wacky Rig video that I think he goes over it, and he's got a little bit better camera setup than I do, obviously. But that's how I like to fish them. So if you've never tried the Wacky Rig, I highly suggest it. If you have Wacky Rigs but you don't fish them, I highly suggest you do start fishing them. Also with the O-rings, they're not a one-time use thing. I just rolled them off the bait, and then you just slide them back over this little Phillips head screw, or a little machine bolt, I believe, a machine screw. And as long as you get the bait back, so as long as you don't break off, you don't really go through them that quick. You can get these at Walmart for under $5, and you can buy the bags, or they have bags of extra O-rings. They're under $4. So again, Wacky Rig, it's something that's been super helpful for me. I have a lot of confidence in it. If I'm going to pick up the spinning rod, it's usually got a Wacky Rig, or it has a drop shot with a Wacky Rig on it. That is how much I like it. So again, consider subscribing to the channel. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, or you can check me out on my Facebook page. It's the same name as the YouTube channel, Samuel Sean Hart Fishing, or I think you can just do @SeanHartFishing. It'll pop up. You can also message me on there if you want to get a hold of me. That's probably the best way of doing it. So again, check out the Facebook page. Consider subscribing to the channel. Check out my other videos. So again, thank you guys. God bless.